Well, homeopathy is more, first of all, it's not nearly as powerful as some of these other ideas. It's much more recent, it's much more geographically limited. It is, however, a different healing system, and so it sort of has some of that relationship too, and there is a sort of a certain set of cultural ideas that underlie it. And some of those ideas, one of the, the biggest aspect of that idea that I think is important is kind of this turning on its head of the more classic Western medicine idea that if you have a big problem, you need a big hammer. And instead, what homeopathy ends up saying is if you have a big problem, you probably need to have an increased need of being subtle. So I have some difficulty overall with homeopathy as it's generally suggested that, that there is some sort of chemical, usually a poison, often a very powerful poison, that just exists in its energetic signature in this very, very dilute form and therefore has power. So my own experiences with homeopathy have been really mixed. But there's definitely been some times when I've really, I've taken a homeopathic remedy and I'm like, wow, that does stuff that nothing else will do. So, so there are a couple of interesting ideas there. One is this idea of the poison being something that's very powerful, that in a very small quantity can be really healing. And that's not exactly something that we do in craniosacral therapy really in any way, but there is something of this aspect of, I've had it described to me in homeopathy as it's a signal. You point to a particular symptom by using this thing which sets it off a little bit. And just a tiny little bit, whether it's the energetic signal or whether there's actually some, of the chemical actually left in the homeopathic remedies. And I think that's really important, just this thing of like, oh, hey, what's this? What is that thing over there? That in some of the more sophisticated discussions I've had with people on homeopathy, they really point to that aspect of the signal, the pointer, that thing which allows your attention to be drawn to a particular place and then allows your body to deal with it. And I think that's something that we definitely do a lot, is there is that kind of pointing feature to it. And also, I've found personally that when I'm working with people who are most distressed, who really have a ton of things going on, that it's even more particularly important to be absolutely aware of subtle signals. Sometimes I'll do a lot more scanning, I'll do a lot more stuff off the body, more frequently with people who are more severely ill. And that's partially because, if you start heading it in the wrong space, their body may be more likely to respond with guarding and respond because they need to guard more. Mm-hmm. So that concept of subtle is often better than less subtle is really crucial. Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else about homeopathy itself. Well, it certainly has a very strong idea of you're treating the person, you're not treating the symptoms, and that's also, I don't think there's any other way of describing what you do with holistic work. That's it right there. Doesn't matter whether the symptom looks exactly like what it looks like in somebody else. If it's your symptom, it's yours. It's not somebody else's. And so it's part of a whole different structure. It's part of, the whole emotional structure and all the rest of it.